Hey everybody, welcome back to the top 100 games of all time, 80 through 71. So yes, this is my top 100 games of all time for the year 2024. Let's, uh, well, first off, welcome. And if you want to catch up, the other two videos are here on Malts and Meeples, where I go through 100 through 91 and 90 through 81. And I have my scotch. Whiskey, I should say. This is Japanese whiskey. And I need it today because I just finished reading an 80-page book to my kid. Well, he was getting ready for bed. So, yeah, that's a lot. But let's get started here with number 80. Ooh, wrong one. And that's going to be Flamecraft. Flamecraft is a fun, simple-ish game. It's one of those games where I say it's a simple game, but it's not necessarily a fast game. Because in this game, you are trying to collect resources to trade those in to fulfill contracts. How do you do that? Well, you move around to different locations, and you're either adding a dragon and firing off all the different dragons and their abilities, or you might be completing one of your contracts there. And it is really fun because while it is a worker placement style game, it's a friendly one. If you go to a spot where I'm already, or I go to a spot where you're already, all you have to do is pay somebody a resource and you can go there. So there's not this tight contention in the game. Now, for some people that might make it a bit too light, but for me, I thought it was a nice kind of balance. Plus, Sundara Tang's artwork is just amazing on this. So, just a fun theme, fun game. I didn't talk much about the theme, so let's talk a little bit about the theme, since I mentioned that it's fun. It's about all these little dragons. You can see some of them on the front. They might help with brewing potions, or raising plants, or roasting meats, as you can see with that red dragon in the middle. They're just helpers in the town, which is really fun because you start to load up the different shops and locations in town with these different dragons, and you start to get some really powerful spots, some really interesting things that you can do to kind of influence what you get. I very much enjoy that about the game. So, then my number 79 is going to be Just One. Another party game on the list. I honestly don't know how many more party games I have left. I suspect it's going to be 2 over the rest of the list. But Just One is a great cooperative party game. And I think some of what I love about it so much is the fact it is a cooperative game. In Just One, everybody is writing down a one-word clue. They're writing down that one-word clue to try and get the person who's it to guess the word that was selected for them. And it's randomly selected word off of a card. But the twist, the trick comes in that you don't want to cross with somebody else. So let's say, and this has happened, the word is cookie. And you can write down one word. So you can't write down chocolate chip. That's 2 words. You can, however, write down a very specific type of cookie called Snickerdoodle, and then have your wife write down the exact same one. And so that great clue, because the only thing a Snickerdoodle is a cookie, is now gone. I've also seen somebody get karate based off of style and discipline, because kid was crossed out by the other players. So you have these really great moments, and as a person coming up with your one-word clue to give, you're always kind of struggling to find that thing that's close and obvious enough, but not one that somebody else is going to pick out, because if somebody else picks it out, you lose it. But of course, if you go too obscure, if everybody goes too obscure, now the person guessing has a whole bunch of clues that maybe with one of those central clues would tie together like that, but instead it is completely separate for them. So I love that kind of balancing act within this game. Plus, it is cooperative, which is fun for a party style game. Next up, we have a Roll and Write on Tour. On Tour is about getting and setting up your best kind of band route across the United States, or I believe, I'm trying to remember where the other location is in the base box. I forget. I mainly play on the US map, but you're just doing it by rolling dice. So there'll be 3 locations flipped out. You'll roll 2 dice, and that will give you a combination. It will actually give you 2 combinations. So 2 10-sided dice, you might roll 3 and a 7 and a 7, or 3 and a 7, so you get 37. You also get 73. So now you have to figure out with those 3 locations where you want to put in either the 73 or the 37, because you want it to go, or not go, but to be able to create a path that goes from low to high. And you can put numbers anywhere on there as long as it's one of those cities or like regions of the US. You can put it anywhere in those regions, but now it gets a little bit tricky. And you have to, I said use one, you actually use both of them. So you're plotting out your route, having to figure out both of those things. Now, that might sound not too bad. You might get a 3-7 and a 7-3. Okay, not bad. And then you get a 36. Perfect. You can put that right before the 37. But now you have a 63. Where do you want to put that? And can you put the 36 right before the 37? Because you need to be able to do that in the right territory, region of the United States as well. Which, I mean, the game is simple, but there's definitely a good amount of thought that goes into it. And it has a great app. I haven't played the app recently. I should again, but the nice thing about the app is it does generally a really good job of plotting out your longest route. One time I saw a one longer route that the app had missed, but that was only one time. So it does a very good job of understanding kind of the puzzle of how to create that longest route for you. When you're playing it in person, when you're playing with the actual boards, yeah, they work well, but you do have to think a little bit more about, okay, how do I want to keep track of my route? And you can kind of map it out as you go, but potentially there's at least a higher chance of accidentally missing something. Then next one on the list, I believe that this one, we've had 80, 79, this was 78, 77 is going to be Mythwind. You can actually watch me play through a chunk of Mythwind as the farmer over here on the Melts and Meeples YouTube channel. And this is just a cozy, kind of chill game. Every character, you have the farmer, you have like a ranger, you have, who else is there? An innkeeper, a bunch of different characters, and each of them kind of has their own mini game for how you need to make your money and deal with some things, because you have to figure that all out. But at the same time, you're figuring out how you can allocate dice to basically help with that. Plus, you're building out this town, the settlement, in this valley, and you're dealing with stuff that come up there, and there are adventures, there's like plot points, all sorts of things that happen, but done in a really kind of relaxed way. And you play a certain amount of time for a season, and then you just pack it up and you go on to the next season. They have great trays that save everything that you've done previously, so you continue to build and strengthen as you go. Of course, as you do that, then some other things start to become more challenging. If you're doing really well in an area, you start to draw, like if you're the innkeeper, pickier guests, or if you're the adventurer, ranger, you can go on bigger and longer adventures. Sure, you can keep it simple, you can keep it small, but that's not going to give you kind of the same rewards, same build that you need, because you're still going to be pushing a little bit higher into bigger challenges anyways. I'm excited to see what the expansion adds, and it's one that I want to come back to. It's one that I kind of want to set up on the game table and just leave up. Like I said, it does pack up really well. It condenses down. They did a great job with their trays and everything, but it still would be nice to just sit down an afternoon after work, evening after work, when I don't have anything planned, or I can't get out of the house because I'm the one watching the kid, if my wife has something planned, and be able to just say, all right, open up the table and get that to our playing again. Next up, we have Betrayal at House on the Hill, number 76 on the list. I'm pretty sure it's 76. Yes. This one moves around a lot, but I don't know that it has ever dropped out of my top 100 games of all time, because the game is just fun. This is a horror mystery experience of a game where honestly it can just go all wrong. By that I mean you might have a situation where you look and go, okay, well, I'm going to be exploring. Then all of a sudden this haunt kicks off. You're exploring this house, putting stuff out, you're finding omens, and the haunt kicks off, and the person with all the gear is the person who is haunting everybody else, and you're just screwed. Or it might be on the opposite side of things, where it's a haunt where the person who is the haunter needs to get to something that isn't even in the house yet. So they're having to spend time exploring and figuring all that out. Or it's on the opposite side of the house and they're going to have to go through everybody to get there. It's unbalanced. There are scenarios that just are hard to parse and figure out because they try and give the haunter the information that they need and the people being haunted, but sometimes that means to truly understand what's going on in the scenario, you need that mesh of information, and so it's really hard to kind of figure it out. That said, the game is a blast. I love the haunts. I just love the weird stories that you can get out of Betrayal at House on the Hill. Number 75 is going to be Clever Forever. Another Clever game. I had Clever Cubed, I believe, in the last section. And Clever Forever, I think I like that one just because it has some kind of weirder areas to it. Well, Clever Cubed has a good amount of challenge in what you're doing. I think there is a slightly clearer, more obvious path to it. Clever Forever really pushes you to think and plan a little bit more, but not to the point of like Doppelt So Clever, which is not in my top 100. I suspect it's in my top 200. When I do that video, we'll see. But this one makes you think about what you want to do, and you have to figure out kind of the targets that you want to hit to do well in this game, because there's There's a lot of things that are going to push you, and you're going to want to like time it up perfectly for it. So it is really fun, but still, again, that combo-tastic game. I think it is more combo-tastic than Doppelt So Clever, slightly less so than Clever Huck Dry or Clever Cubed, and more combo-tastic than Ganshan Clever. Though Ganshan Clever, I think, just has a little bit simpler feel to it, and I suspect is higher on the list. Like I said, I haven't actually looked at this list in over a month, so I forget what's on there. 74 is going to be Spellbook. This one came out at Gen Con last year, and I know that people, not everybody has loved it as much, but I really enjoy this game of collecting materia to use to get spells into your spell book, and then activating those spells to improve your ability to get that materia, to get more spells prepared, or just to feed a ton of that materia to your familiar, pushing that end game. It's a ton of fun. There's a bunch of different spell sets, so you can really get different combinations and play in different ways that are going to give you a unique setup and something that feels like a different challenge that you have to figure out every time. And even with that challenge, like I've played where somebody got the thing that I wanted to get first, like it was what I was shooting for, say it's the red spell. They grab that early. Well, everybody can get their own red spell, but I think, okay, that's the one you want to start the game getting. I miss out on that. I grab something else first, and I still end up doing well. I can still even end up winning a game because there are so many adaptable strategies in what you're doing that it just really makes Spellbook a fun, simple game. And it is a Phil Walker Harding game. So if you're familiar with Phil Walker Harding games, he did Sushi Go. They tend to be straightforward, simple in what you're doing, but offer you a whole bunch of different ways to kind of get points or to focus on how you want to win the game. Next up at 73, we have Gollum Century Gollum Edition. This one I love. Another one of those simple games that's easy to play, but kind of a really fun puzzle. In the game, you're just doing one action per turn. You're playing down a card. That card's going to allow you to swap your crystals or upgrade your crystals, stuff like that, gain more crystals. You're going to spend crystals to get Gollum cards. Gollum cards are how you get points. You got to do that. You may pick up all your cards. That's the turn. Just pick everything up. Or you can get new cards from the market, and those cards go straight into your hand and become part of that puzzle of figuring out how you take gems and turn them into the other type of gems that you need or that are what the golems are wanting, what you need to power up the golems. I really enjoy this one because the turns just fly by, and it is so much fun and just so snappy in what it does. And sometimes you just figure out a great little engine that starts working, and you don't need to grab many cards, and you're just getting it going as fast as possible. And then somebody comes in with a bigger engine that now is just pumping out gems, and they're catching up to your slightly slower one. I really enjoy how this one works, and I haven't tried the other games in the Century Golem or Century Spice Road kind of set of games, and the games are the same across them as far as I know. I don't think there's any, at least, major differences. But Century Golem Edition, I just love the Golem artwork, and I love the crystals better than Spice Cubes. So that's why that one hits the list. I believe this is now number 82. We're going to have New Frontiers, and this one should be new to the list this year, if I'm not mistaken. And I've played it a few different times, different groups of people, and it's one that I come back to regularly when, like, my D&D group doesn't have the full group there, because this is just a really fun kind of engine building game in the Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy, Jump Drive kind of line series of games. You're going out there, you're exploring, you're settling planets, you're getting technologies, all these things that are, you're just trying to make your engine do more and be better. I love how this works. You're going to notice, actually, this time there have been a fair number of engine building games. I'm pretty sure that's now 3 in a row with Spellbook, Gollum Century, or Century Gollum Edition, and New Frontiers. All of them do different things. Like, New Frontiers is definitely the heaviest of these games in terms of engine building, because you can go a lot of different ways, though everybody has a planet that has, like, their home planet with unique powers that lean you in certain directions, but maybe you want to conquer places because that's what your home planet is good at. If those don't show up, now you're pivoting and you're trying to do something else. You're seeing what other engine you can create within that, and how quickly you can get to the point where you're really starting to dump out a ton of points, or buy the big point technology cards. So I greatly enjoy this one, and there's a ton of content for it. Now, there's only one expansion for it, but even without that expansion, you have a lot of planets, home planets to start with. You have a lot of other random planets that you're going to come across. You can kind of mix up the technologies that you can get, and so there's just a ton of variability in this one. And I've played games where I am just going all in on those technologies because I've got them greatly discounted, they're giving me points, and I can push endgame that way. And other times where I'm just like, no, let me get an engine going where I'm grabbing point tokens because I'm able to produce and sell a lot of goods. It's so much fun, just the variety in this game. And it's not a fast game. Like, the other two engine builders are much faster, but this one gives you that big space feel to it, as you're doing a ton of different things in this one. And finally, number 71, we have Meadow. Meadow is a game about basically building up your nature setup to get pictures of landscapes, but also just to build up your ecosystem where it's going to give you points. And I love how it does it. It's one of 2 games that I have that have this mechanism of you place down, or it has a grid of cards or tiles in the other one, but this one has a grid of cards, and there are spots around the edge, and you can place a picket fence, like one of the pieces of a picket fence down there, and it will have a number on it. So it says 3. So you put it down, you count from where you put it down, 1, 2, 3. That third card is the one you're getting. So you're having to figure out this puzzle of how can I place out my different picket fences to be able to get the cards that I want, or maybe I have 2 ways to get this card, but I think you're going to want this other card that I can block you from getting. It's a ton of fun, just really enjoyable in what it does. Great artwork. I love the nature theme on this one, and yeah, it's one that I need to get back to the table again. I even have the expansion for it. I need to play with the expansion, but just the base game is a blast with all the different animals that you have, and the core mechanisms. I just love the core mechanisms of placing down these picket fences and seeing how that goes. But there we have my 80 through 71. Hopefully that was fun. Let me know which one of these games interests you the most. Is there one that stands out that you want to play or that you have played that you really love and you agree with me? Or maybe you think I have it too low on the list. Or maybe there's one that you play and you're like, no, I really don't like that one. It's too high on the list. Let me know that down in the comment section below, as well as if there are any you haven't played that you would really love to get to the table or to try out. And thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've had fun with this. If you enjoy this content, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click that notification bell to know when I go live. Generally on Mondays, the time is a little bit hit or miss, but Wednesdays I'm shooting for 9 p.m. Central to, well, as you can see, do these top 100. I will be continuing it with 70 through 61 next week, and then every Wednesday going on forward. Mondays, generally playing small solo gaming experiences. I played Lucky Numbers this past Monday, so you can see how that works solo. But if you want to check out other content that I have, obviously I have a backlog of videos here that you can watch, but also in the description there's a link for nerdologists.com. The funds go to, or not the funds, wow, I'm using my podcast spiel there, nerdologist.com, where you can learn about board game reviews, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, comics, so many different things that I kind of take a dive into and dabble with. So you can check those out over there. And then I do have a podcast, 10 Minute Marvel. If you like Marvel comics, movies, TV shows, stuff like that, you can join that, and you can find it here on YouTube. Search for 10 Minute Marvel, or wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcast from. Currently, we are talking about Agatha All Along, and after I sign off on this video, that's what I'm going to be watching. So, with that, thank you so much for joining me, and bottoms up.